G'day trendsetters, John from Gravel Cyclist. Today I've got the 3T Strada, which, stating the obvious, is a road bike, not a gravel bike. But 3T, who manufacture this bike, claim this bike reinvents everything about aerodynamic road bikes. So ordinarily I review gravel bikes, as the website, gravelcyclist.com, and the channel name here on YouTube, Gravel Cyclist, indicate. But this is a cooperative review with my friends at bikerumour.com, and because I still ride road from time to time, I had the opportunity to review this very unique road bike. So, aero factors aside of the 3T Strada, this bike's most unique feature is its single chainring. There's not a derailleur mount to be seen, so there's no provision at all for a front derailleur. It is a true one-bite road bike. 3T claimed the single chainring road bike improves aerodynamics because the crankset can be brought closer into the frame and also will improve the Q factor of the rider. And additionally, it drops about, on average, 400 grams of weight from the bike. So in addition to this bike's spanky aerodynamics, it will clear a 30mm tyre front and rear, which is handy for comfy times on the road bike. And as you'll see later in the video, I do take this bike onto some dirt and gravel roads to put it through its proper paces. The 3T Strada was designed by Mr. Gerard Vrooman, former co-owner and co-founder of Cervelo Bikes, and no matter your thoughts on this bike, there is no denying that it is certainly slippery and aerodynamic in appearance. So enough with the claptrap, let's take a brief look at some of the other features of the 3T Strada frame. Starting at the front of the bike, we have the 3T Fundi fork, which is disc brake only, with the cable being internalised, and it has provision for a 140mm to 160mm brake rotor, which is flat mounted on the caliper. Here's the caliper side of the fork, and it's not really evident in this angle, but there is a kink in the fork at the bottom of the leg, which is designed to hide the caliper, etc., from the wind. So I'm going to move the camera around and you can see the kink a little bit better in this angle. It's very subtle and it does look pretty cool. Holding the front wheel in place is a 12mm through axle with the through bolt by Syntace. On the rear of the bike, we again have a flat mount tram-force caliper and a 160mm rotor, and as you can see, the rear brake cable is internalised, so it's extremely clean looking. This example features SRAM's 1x4 group set, but if you were to run Di2, you would hypothetically install your battery inside the seat post. The size medium 3T Strada, as you see in this example, tips the scales at around 970 grams and features a specific seat post designed just for the frame. The rest of the cockpit features a full 3T build, including an Ergo Nova Team Carbon handlebar and ARX2 Team Issue stem. 3T did supply me with two chain rings. This one here is a 50-tooth chainring. They also supplied me with a 44-tooth chainring, but unfortunately that particular chainring is incompatible with this SRAM Force 1x crankset. So what that means is I've had to use a 50-tooth chainring the entire time, which might be fine for you gear mashers out there. But they did supply me with several cassettes, one of which, it's not pictured on the bike right now, was an 11-40 Shimano XTR cassette. The one pictured is an 11-28, but I've also been running an 11-36, but more on that later. I was hoping to take receipt of the 3T Strada with the special 3T 9-32 cassettes. There are two ratios available, but unfortunately it seems they have completely disappeared from 3T's website, so I'm not even sure if they're available anymore. And finally, down to the wheels, which are 3T branded Discus C60 Team Issue, which are 60mm in depth. So with all of those facts and figures out of the way, how does the 3T Strada actually ride? Let's find out. I've been riding the 3T Strada for several months, where it has served mostly as my primary road bike. I've taken it on roadie group rides, to long solo rides on pavement, dirt and gravel roads, and the odd historic brick road, which served as a good test for the Strada's comfy factor. There is no doubting the Strada is a nice road bike. It is fast, comfortable, and it has an aggressive fit, all of which I really like. The 13mm of tyre clearance is truly appreciated, particularly as a lot of road riders have found themselves enjoying the plush ride of a 28mm tyre. I don't have a wind tunnel at my disposal, but the bike looks and feels fast, even if the placebo effect in my mind is contributing to those feelings. A certain professional team that is now defunct who raced this bike during the 2018 season may or may not have enjoyed their time on a 3T Strada. I have, although I'm not putting out the wattage of a pro rider. In my experience, the bike has plenty of stiffness when stomped out of the saddle, but not the kind of overall stiffness that will jar you with every bump on the road. 3T have found a good compromise with this design between performance and comfort. I rode the 3-gap loop out of Dahlonega, Georgia on this bike, and whilst I don't have any descending footage, you can at least see drone footage of me riding it towards the summit of each of the gaps. The bike descends on rails, and SRAM's force hydraulic brakes are superb. They modulate well and don't need a ton of lever travel to actually get pad contact. I was able to brake later, harder and with confidence. In the rain, hydraulic disc brakes are a no-brainer. The 3T Strada is decently light at about 17.5 pounds with bottle cages and Speedplay titanium zero pedals, but a good amount of that heft comes from the bike's wheel set, the Discus C60 team. Not all deep section carbon clincher wheel sets are created equal, and whilst I didn't weigh them, they aren't as responsive as I would like during accelerations. Once up to speed, they are flat out fast, but I feel the Strada could be better served with a lighter wheel set, or at least one with shallower rims. This wheel set isn't doing itself any favours by being compatible with tubes only. I was hoping to convert the C60 wheel set to tubeless, but all attempts proved fruitless. Thus, if your 3T Strada Complete bike comes equipped with these wheels, be prepared for some heft and buy yourself a good stash of long valve tubes, or at least get some decent valve extenders. Whilst this wheel set looks good, it was annoying during the 3 or 4 times that I flatted. On to the most controversial part of this bike, its gearing. My first rides were around my USA base of Gainesville, Florida, with a 50-tooth big chainring up front, definitely my favourite roadie chainring size. This was the first time I ever had to give thought to a bike's gearing. Ordinarily, I run a double chainring with a 50-38 combination and a 12-25 cassette. This part of Florida isn't flat, but I don't like mashing gears and I want options. An 11-28 or 12-28 work best for me around here paired with a 50-tooth chainring, barring on 1 or 2 of the steeper hills. An 11-32 would be better, but the gaps in that cassette proved annoying if I rode in a group when the pace was ramped up, whereas riding my own cruisy tempo was just fine. So today, trendsetters, I'm riding the 3T Strada that you see right behind me, and I'm taking it over the 3-gap loop out of Dahlonega, Georgia. So plenty of climbing and plenty of descending. And I'm going to flip the camera around in a second so you can see that massive cassette that I have on the bike. So as you can see there, I'm running a Shimano XTR 11-40 cassette paired to a 50-tooth big chainring. Will it be able to handle the climbs of the Dahlonega, Georgia area? The gaps on this cassette drove me absolutely insane. On a mountain bike, I'm sure they're just fine, but on a road bike application, the jumps from a 27 to 31 to 35 and then to a 40, I felt every one of those 4 and 5 cog jumps. One gear was too hard, the next gear would be too easy. On the descents, the 11 to 13 jump was equally irritating. Grinding, then spinning fast, I was really missing that 12-tooth cog in between. For the record, my low gear of 50 by 40 tooth measures 32.9 gear inches, which compares closely to my preferred 34 by 27 low cog, assuming I was running 2 chainrings. A single chainring road bike may work well for some people. It would be killer in a criterium or in flat parts of the world with the odd overpass or 2, but I feel it is a massive compromise. In my opinion, this small amount of weight saved and claimed aerodynamic advantages just aren't worth the limitations of highly annoying gearing, especially when the front derailleurs in modern drivetrains shift so well. Why subject myself to annoying gaps on the cassette, where I felt the Strada was dictating my tempo with a 1x drivetrain and not the other way around, when I can have it all with 2 chainrings and a much tighter cassette? I know that earlier mentioned European Pro team were greatly displeased with the huge gaps in their cassettes, so I'm not alone in thinking this. I will say one positive about the SRAM Force 1x drivetrain on this bike. It is the quietest drivetrain I've ever ridden, and the shifting never went out of adjustment. Now, it isn't all negative, because 3T have realised that a double chainring road bike still has a place in the real world and have released the duo version of this bike, meaning it has provision for a front derailleur. I really wish there was an option to retrofit this Strada with a front derailleur mount, because it would make the riding experience so much better for me. I'm sure I'll receive hater comments for this, but I feel that 1x is great for cyclocross and probably a good thing on a mountain bike, but I do not enjoy it on a road bike or gravel bike for reasons mentioned earlier. Why compromise with limited gearing, and even more so when you have clutch-based derailleurs from Shimano, for example, that work so nicely with a double chainring setup? In summary, if you can get past the idiosyncrasies and limitations of 1x, the 3T Strada road bike may be the ticket for you. The frame is a rocket, it looks sharp, it's not for everybody, and 3T has released a slightly heavier, albeit cheaper version of the frame, which offers all of the characteristics of this review sample. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this review to be helpful and insightful. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell button for notifications. I'll see you in the next video.